Florida, Notre Dame, Indiana, and more programs are having some injury problems in fall camp. How much impact will it have on the college football season?
Locked On presents The Portal, the daily podcast covering college football recruiting and everything NIL. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome into the Portal Podcast, where you get your daily recruiting, NIL, and transfer portal scoop. I'm your host, Brian Smith, longtime college football writer and recruiting analyst. Thank you for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Today's show is brought to you by our friends at Moderate Money. Take control of your finances with Moderate Money. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at moderatemoney.com for your first 50% off on your first year. We're going to be talking about the injury bug right now to start the show, and it is pretty concerning at the University of Florida. We talk about Notre Dame, took a couple hits, a couple guys out for the year. Indiana had a couple of things go on, and one player had to be away. And then we're going to get into the Big 10 win-loss totals for some key teams. I'm going to surprise some people with a few of the things that I have to say. I'm going to talk about programs that you're probably familiar with, and one of which was the darling of college football last year. That's Indiana, Michigan State. We're going to talk about Penn State. And we're also going to talk about the Southern Cal Trojans, all of those win total predictions from yours truly. And then to finish off the show, Big 10 freshmen. I've got 5 players that I want to discuss that I think are going to make a dent, that are going to make an impact. 1 or 2 of them will probably end up being more or less starters. So let's start off with injury news. DJ Lagway has been in and out of the lineup since he's arrived at the University of Florida. And to be honest, as somebody that's been around him, when he was at the Under Armour event a few years ago, he was a guy that was just built to play quarterback. He was 230. He moved well. He had a powerful arm. He could run to his left and throw. You thought he was the guy that just couldn't be hurt. And about 5 minutes after I remember talking to somebody about him, I'm on the sideline, and here comes DJ right next to me, sitting down. He'd done something to his lower leg, just kind of a goofy injury. It was nothing major, but it just seems like ever since then, he's always had something wrong. He's always had an injury. But those reps now are more important. It's one thing in an all-star game, how much you play or don't play. It's different when you're in a scenario where you're trying to get reps with new receivers, younger guys like Dallas Wilson, the 5-star freshman out of Tampa Bay Tech High School. He's an elite player. He's been banged up too, but those guys aren't getting reps. You got Trey Wilson. That's another guy. That's a burner that they need in the lineup, getting reps with their star quarterback. Then you also have the other guys just in general. And Florida's had a rash of injuries, and sometimes it just happens like this to teams. Aiden Mizell has been out. Trayon Webb, a backup running back, has been out at times. LJ McCray is going to be out a little bit. How often does it happen? Not that much, but like Florida's just had their early run. Maybe this means during the season the Gators won't have as many. I don't know. It's kind of goofy, but I can assure you, and if you take nothing else from this podcast, the following is what you should note. Injuries in fall camp like this that take away reps, continuity, comfort with the scheme, especially younger guys. LJ McCray, he's a second-year player. A guy like Aiden Mizell just getting his feet wet, like becoming one of the key guys. That is a big deal. Now, I know they play Long Island University to start the season. They suck. But Florida is in trouble, in my opinion, if this continues. They need DJ full on, healthy, running around making plays. He is not just a pocket quarterback. He's quite mobile. They need that to happen, or else it's not going to go very well for them once they get into the meat of their schedule. And remember, I believe it's game 4. They go down to Miami Gardens, to Hard Rock Stadium, to play the Miami Hurricanes. These reps right now are going to hurt them. So we'll see. But they do have a strong offensive line. Left tackle's back. They've got Jake Slaughter, one of the best centers in the country. He's back. So we'll see. Notre Dame, they lost Kevin Bauman, fifth-year senior. They already had another tight end out. Unfortunately for Bauman, it ends his career. Kedron Young, a guy that's a redshirt freshman, a 240-pound bowling ball at running back, who's also got great feet. He went down with an ACL. He's going to miss the year. Those are 2 significant injuries for the Irish. They already have Jordan Botelho out for a little while. He's got a pec injury. I don't think he could play. I know he's practiced some, Boubacar Traore's coming off an ACL from last year. We'll see. Keywords, we'll see how much he plays against Miami in game 1. So Notre Dame's been nicked up a little bit here too. I don't think there's been anything significant in the last 24 hours, or I just haven't seen it. But Notre Dame overall is a team with all the talent that Marcus Freeman and his staff have recruited. They can sustain some injuries, and obviously everybody knows about Jagusa, the big stud offensive lineman, can play tackle or guard, doesn't matter. Him not being in the lineup for probably the first half of the season, give or take. He had that unfortunate accident in the offseason, just like his arm got broken in a weird accident. Anyway, that team is still really good, but it's the same thing as with Florida. You have somebody in your lineup or in your rotation that all of a sudden is out. So somebody has to step in. Are they ready? Do you move guys around? There are a lot of questions. And even as talented as Notre Dame is on the offensive line, right? Gerby Lambert might be a guy that he might be the next player if somebody else gets hurt. He was a 4 or 5-star recruit by every service. Okay. He still wasn't the guy before some of these injuries. That's the thing about it. You need reps with the number ones if you're a starter, as many as possible. There's really no end to it. And then finally, Indiana, D'Angelo Pons, who's a really, really good player. He was banged up. He's back in the lineup for the Hoosiers. He's a corner that will probably end up in the NFL. He's back. Elijah Hardy, he got banged up a little bit. He was out last week. Now he's back. And then Amari Farrell, unfortunately for him, good well wishes for any problems he's had. His mother passed. He missed some time for the Hoosiers, but he is now in the lineup again for them. And Indiana's going to have a pretty strong season. We'll talk more about the Hoosiers and their ability to get maybe back to the playoff. I don't think that's the case, but we'll see. And they also have Lee Beebe as back, a running back that they'd had transferred. He's a pretty darn good player as well. When we come back, we're going to talk about the over-under totals that I have based on the roster construction, the transfer portal, all the NIL and everything that's gone into it for 4 Big Ten teams, USC, Michigan State, Penn State, and Indiana. That is next here on the Portal Podcast. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, investments, and you don't even have to get the full picture from just a couple of things. You need everything to understand where you're at, and that's where going with Monarch Money comes into play. It's an all-around one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop and even on your cell phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you so you can link all your accounts, just minutes, see clear data, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. If you've got everything in one place, any kind of organization that has things in one place, it's more convenient. It's more efficient. It allows you to concentrate on what you really need. And just as an example, if you have everything in one place, you can see the spending that you have, maybe an old subscription that you're still spending on that you don't even use. Monarch Money can help you save money in a lot of different ways. Don't let the financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% for your first year at monarchmoney.com with code LOCKEDONCollege. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Going to be discussing a lot of different teams with a focus on recruiting, NIL, and the transfer portal and how these teams were built, what kind of cultures they have, predictions on win totals, all kinds of different things as we lead into college football. Going to be doing a lot of live shows and having some fun with it, so make sure you join in. Now let's talk about 4 teams in the Big Ten that I find interesting. Let's start off with Indiana. This is a team that took everybody by surprise, going in 11-1 last year, the greatest season in Indiana football history. I had no idea if anybody picked Indiana to even win 10 games last year, let alone 11. I'm an IU grad, and I had no idea what to expect out of that. So here are a couple of the things that I know. Phil Steele has Indiana's schedule as 58th, but there's some side parts to this. I think the schedule is harder. Illinois at home. They play 3 out of conference cupcakes. Then they got the Illini at home. Huge game. Have to win that game. It's a toss-up because they've got Iowa right after that in Iowa City. Then they've got Oregon a little bit later in the season on the road. And then they got Penn State on the road. So the road games are rough. Indiana should win the other games. They got Purdue on the road in the year, and that's their rival, but Purdue is just terrible. 7-5, 8-4, I think is more likely than 9-3, 10-2. We'll see. But again, their win total is 8.5 on FanDuel. They've got a chance to beat that. They got Fernando Mendoza. They got D'Angelo Pons. They've got several of their key players back, like including a couple of their receivers like Surratt. I think Indiana could get to the 9-win total. But again, that Illinois game is huge. If they do not win the Illinois game, it's going to be really hard. Because do you think they're going to beat Illinois or Penn State, Oregon or Penn State on the road? I don't. Then you got the Iowa game. That's another toss-up. But Iowa's got a really veteran offensive line. They've got a quarterback now that's decent. That's a tougher schedule than you might think. Michigan State, their over-under on FanDuel is 5.5, and I think it's pretty accurate. And right now, I would go under. Their schedule, I do not like. It's 31st by Phil Steele, but I honestly think it's harder than that. They got at SC, at Nebraska, at Indiana. They've got at Minnesota, at Iowa, plus they play Penn State at home. They're not winning those games, in my opinion. That roster is nowhere near ready. Aiden Childs, they've got really talented. I got a couple really talented receivers, and so that's great. But the linemen and especially the defense, is anybody out there buying Michigan State as a team that's going to be a dominant team? Remotely dominant, sort of dominant on defense. Like, they've got a couple guys with size, but it's just not been there. It's just not been there. So my guess is no. And I just don't think you're going to win enough games with a quarterback that's developing that gave the ball away too much. And Aiden Childs was a highly recruited guy. Nick Marsh is a great receiver, future NFL player. Great. But who are the guys you're going to go to when the chips are down and the other team doubles Marsh? Again, they got some other talented receivers, but how many do you trust? I'm not sure I trust anybody else at this point. And again, that schedule, I mean, Indiana's better than them. Nebraska's better than them. Southern Cal's better. Minnesota's better. Iowa's better. And those 5 are on the road, plus Penn State. I think you're 0-6 right there. You can't slip up with any other game to make a bowl. Win total is 5.5. I think they're more likely to win 4 than they are 5. That's just me. Penn State, possible national champion? I could absolutely see. You got Pena coming over from Syracuse. You got Drew Auerbach. You've got Katron Allen. You got Nick Singleton. You've got a plethora of defensive players back. Deny Dennis Sutton. Their recruiting has been good. Their portal has improved, and they paid players to stay. They've got good culture. Penn State's a program that if they don't finish in the top 4 this year, they're probably going to be really mad. And they've kind of went all in to win it. I mean, it's not a lock that they'll win the national title, but they're certainly in that conversation. Their schedule is interesting. It's ranked 37th by Phil Steele. Again, over-under on FanDuel is 10.5. They got Oregon at home. They got UCLA on the road. That's a little tricky. That'll be decent. But are we buying UCLA? I don't know. At Iowa, that's iffy. At Ohio State, iffy. Indiana at home, Nebraska at home. I would say they're going to go 11-1, but if they went 10-2, it wouldn't surprise me. The schedule is a little more difficult than some people give it credit for. Penn State has a really good defense. Fisher and some of the other guys that are coming up the ranks, like he's the other DN besides Deny Dennis Sutton. But this has got to be the year, right? Like, this has to be the year. You're going to lose a ton of players. If they don't make the Final Four, it would be a major disappointment. Again, if they made the title game, got beat by, whoever, it wouldn't be shocking. Texas or Georgia or Ohio State or Notre Dame or Alabama, whatever. If one of those schools beat them, would it be shocking? No. But conservatively, they should make the Final Four based on everything. And if they don't, that would be kind of disappointing. Now for a traditional power who's joined the Big Ten, recruited well, but hasn't been balanced enough. I'm going to come back to that, but here's the baseline. USC hasn't recruited the high school ranks at D-line and O-line consistently enough to be where they should be. They're good, but their culture is not the same because they've used the portal way, way, way too much for what USC should. They skipped out on too many kids in the greater LA area, San Diego area too. They made some mistakes. They're getting back around to it. They're doing much better. In this class they're currently working on for the class of 26 is really good, but that's not going to help Jaden Maeva, Makai Lemon, and everybody else on that team this year. They've got some guys like Fountain at edge. He's really good. He's a 6'6", 6'7" kid. I love him. But they don't have enough depth, in my opinion, at D-line and O-line for me to feel comfortable. They lost Monheim to the NFL. They lost another tackle to the NFL. They're in a situation where they're close, and I think they will be a pain in the butt for a lot of teams, but they've got Notre Dame on the road in the middle of the season. USC's also got to play. Just the road trip situation in the Midwest this year is pretty bad. At Purdue, at Illinois, at Notre Dame. They've got to go to Nebraska. They got to go to Oregon. And they also have a game right before they play the Irish in the Coliseum. Michigan goes to USC the week before. Michigan, I don't think, will be great. That ought to be a good game. And at the very least, it's going to be a slugfest because Michigan's going to play downhill football. That's going to be hard on Southern Cal, in my opinion, because then they go to South Bend on the road the next week to play a night game against the Fighting Irish. There may not be a more physical 1-2 in college football this year than playing Michigan at home and then going to Notre Dame. That's two teams that are purely line of scrimmage teams, no doubt about it. We're going to see if USC's got the depth. Now, they've got a couple of transfer running backs I like. Makai Lemon, I think, is one of the best wide receivers in college football. He just gets open. That dude, he even tore Notre Dame up last year. They've got a tremendous secondary. And they've also got some pretty good players in their secondary talent-wise. They need to see them take that next step. I'm curious about that. But overall, I think we're a year or so away for SC, and their win total is 7.5. I think they'll go over, but not by much. Again, Illinois is on the road, Notre Dame's on the road, Nebraska's on the road, Oregon's on the road. They also have Michigan at home. They're going to lose some of those games. We'll see where they're at, but it's going to be challenging, to say the very least. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Big Ten and a few of the key players from the freshman class. Some of these win totals I've been talking about, these are guys that are going to make a difference. And quite honestly, they could be a big factor on whether some of the teams I've talked about today hit those win totals or they go under. That is next on the Portal Podcast. Thank you once again for making the Portal Podcast your first listen each and every day. Please hit that like and subscribe. If you're on Apple, hit automatic downloads. Now, let's talk a little bit about some of the guys that I think are really good freshmen. One I'm going to get out of the way that doesn't get any love because his team's not expected to do great right out of the gate, but he's from Gainesville, Florida. Why Florida didn't go after him, I don't know. And that is Nicholas Clayton. He's from a high school right there in Gainesville, right down the street from UF, and they didn't take him. He's going to Wisconsin. Pure pass rusher, pure 7 technique, get wide, come around the edge that the state of Florida is just known for. He's already turned heads at Wisconsin. I think he's a guy that's going to make noise for the Badgers. And if you're a Wisconsin fan, you should be fired up about Clayton. If you're not, why? Why? Florida State, Florida, all these schools looked at him. Some went after him, some didn't. But he could. Why a half dozen other schools didn't really go after Nicholas Clayton, I'm still not really sure. I know he's a little light in the pants, but it's not hard to put 30 pounds on a young man like him. Play outside linebacker, rush the passer part time. Like, why would you not take that kid? Anyway, Wisconsin was smart enough to do it, and hats off to their staff for doing so. The question that I have, and this is a big one, does he have the ability to play the run on first or second down in the Big Ten? I say no to a certain degree, unless they really just turn him loose, which just doesn't happen very often, and they're not concerned about protecting the edge, which makes no sense. I just don't think he can take the direct hits from a right tackle or left tackle in the upper echelon of the Big Ten, and even some of the lower level. Those are still 310-pound men. They get their hands on him, it's going to be a little rough, but he's like 225-ish, somewhere in that range, I think. I'd have to talk to my guy Ryan Herrings over there at Locked On Badgers to know for sure. But Nicholas Clayton's going to make some plays for the Badgers this year. And then next year, I think he'll be in contention for Big Ten honors. Like, I think he's that talented. And good for them. Wisconsin needs more guys like Clayton, and he's a great start. Next, and this one's not going to surprise anybody, Michigan's Bryce Underwood. That is an animal. 230 pounds, give or take. Quarterback out of Belleville, Michigan, just outside of Detroit. National Player of the Year by some people. I had the fortune of seeing him a couple of times during his prep career in 7-on-7. His natural throwing motion to throw the ball deep, his ability to hit players underneath, know when to take something off of it, his ability to run. He could play free safety. He could play receiver, just all around phenomenal athlete. And he's got some adaptive quarterback skills, meaning he will adjust to what he needs to do play to play. Now, he's not perfect. I've seen him throw a pick six in a 7-on-7 game too. Don't get me wrong. He's not perfect, but he's going to end up starting for Michigan. That second game at Oklahoma is going to be interesting. If they can somehow win that game, it's in Norman. Playing against the Venables defense will be hard for a true freshman quarterback. But if they somehow win that, they could be the surprise team, be 9-3 or better this year. Very critical game down in Norman. But their schedule and the teams that they have, they got Ohio State at the end of the year. That game's up in Ann Arbor. That could be interesting. We're going to see what Michigan does. They're a team that can make some noise, but Bryce Underwood is certainly one of those guys that he may not get everybody this year, but you better get him now. His sophomore, junior years, he'll be one of the best players in college football, and he'll be 3 and out and off to the NFL. Next, Iosi Epinesa. Defensive end going to Iowa. He's from Edwardsville, Illinois. His dad played there. His brother did. Now his brother's with Buffalo. Great athlete. I believe he was a wrestler, but I could be wrong. But just got great hands at the point of attack. And I know Iowa kind of goes through and grinds it differently. Freshmen don't necessarily play a ton, and that's totally fine. However, this is the key. Iowa's not stupid. They don't get kids like him all the time. He was a national recruit. Like Miami really wanted it. They're not going to recruit a random kid from Illinois just because. Epinesa ended up picking Iowa, sticking with the easy conservative choice, family lineage and all. But I bet you he's on the 2 deep pretty quick, and not just for a pass rusher. His hands, he's over 250, and his ability just to absorb. I watched junior film, senior film, he's really good. This is a guy that could be a 2-time All Big Ten player at Iowa. And obviously they've coached Phil Parker as a defense coordinator. It's just unbelievable. They've coached it right for a long time, and they know how to do it. They know how to do it. That kid's going to find his way onto the field this year. They've got Penn State at home. They have some other critical games, Indiana at home. Like I talked about those win totals in the last segment. If Epinesa is a guy that ends up making a critical sack, don't be shocked if the Hawkeyes win one of those games because of him. Also, he's a guy that'll help out on special teams right away too. Whether it's punt block, field goal block, something. He's going to make a play somewhere this year that's going to help the Hawkeyes win a game. And he's a future NFL player. 6'4", 250, somewhere in that range. Really good athlete. Next up, Naeem Alford. He's going all the way from Parker High School in Birmingham, Alabama, all the way out to Oregon. I saw him play, and I was like, this is the most technically sound corner that I've seen in a minute coming out of the high school ranks. Holy cow. And he's a great running back, too. He could play receiver, could play free safety, could play nickel. He's about 6'1", 195 pounds, just strong as all get out. Really nifty in space when he has the football. Like they use him as a punt returner at Oregon, wouldn't surprise me. And on top of everything else, he's a guy that has the speed. If he does get a pick, he can just outrun everybody. Complete athlete. I think he's a national top 25 guy. And I think Alford is a player that will end up, quite frankly, in the NFL after 3 years. Oregon lost like 6 DBs. He'll be in the rotation. And before the end of this year, I think he'll find a way into the starting lineup. Now, maybe I'm wrong and one of the older players holds on to that. It's possible. It's possible. But he has the talent that you can't teach. And he's a driven young man. Technically, he just gets after it. He really likes the workouts. He does all the little things. He's going to be really good. The only question about him is how much does he learn their playbook and all that stuff. But he's a smart kid, too. I think Naeem will do well, and he'll adjust quickly, and he'll be making a lot of plays for the Ducks sooner rather than later. As for the last guy, it's also another Duck. It's Decorian Moore, wide receiver, 5-star, out of the Dallas area, elite player. Just just incredible athlete. Has the burst that you would expect. Now, Oregon is deep at receiver. One of their guys got hurt in the offseason, and Moore's a special player. He's got drive that you can't teach. He's a little bit like Offord, honestly. I think he will be a player that finds his way onto the field situationally. And if he's not starting by game 6, I'd be at least a little surprised. Again, playbook is the key. And it's a little harder for an offensive guy than it is a defensive guy like Offord. But I would imagine they're going to use him a lot. If he conservatively over under, he's going to have 30 catches, I would say, this year. They'll get him the ball. Jet sweeps, screens, short passes. He's a consummate route runner for a young player. Like, I'm not saying he's Jerry Rice here, but more plays in that vein where he uses his speed, but he uses his hands and he breaks in and out of cuts really, really well. You don't think of, like, you saw him just run a route you'd never seen before. You think, sophomore, junior in college. He's just entering his freshman year. De'Corian Moore is going to make a dent for the Ducks, and I think pretty early. Like, I think he'll be in the rotation game 1. I would be surprised if he is not. Once again, just going to note, I'm going to do several more of these live shows over the next couple of weeks going into the season. It's a lot of fun for me. I enjoy it. And to be honest with you, I just think there's a lot of things to talk about. Predictions, freshmen, over-unders, injury news. We'll be talking about it right here on the Portal Podcast. So tap in, like and subscribe, share this podcast, comment. It really helps the algorithm. And if you're on Apple, check it out. Downloads. You can set it up where they automatically download to the Portal Podcast. I would appreciate it. We will see you all soon again here on the Portal Podcast.